Speaking of the law as a teacher, great new law in Kansas. Kansas has become the first state to pass a bill that defines woman as someone who is biologically born female. That's it. That's what a woman is, which means that this will ban men who identify as transgender women from using single-sex areas designated for women.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and Daily Wire host Michael Knowles wants to wage war on transgenderism. On a recent episode of The Brain Dead and the Damned, host Michael Knowles couldn't stop himself from singing the praises of a new law in Kansas. It's called the Women's Bill of Rights, and it was passed in the Kansas legislature with the sole purpose of defining what a woman is. Not a health care bill to address the reproductive health of a woman, or equal pay in some cases, but a legal definition of what physical characteristics make up a woman.
This is a beautiful bill because it doesn't just say, don't trans the kids. It doesn't just say, wait till 8 to introduce kids to transgenderism in schools. Once they turn 9, that's fine. It doesn't just say, only minors can't. It bans transgenderism for all practical purposes in the state, for everybody. And it has to.
This bill targets the transgender community with regards to sports and restrooms. That's pretty much all that the Republicans are obsessed with these days, that and Hunter's laptop. But why is it more often than not that you hear of some Republican official getting busted for prostitution or child porn? This bill's intent is to divide Americans on the subject of sexual orientation. The GOP is trying to stir up hate towards some of the most vulnerable groups in our society.
In order for women to have the right to have their own bathrooms, you have to ban transgenderism entirely. You can't just ban it for the kids. It's got to be entirely. In order for women to be able to have their own locker rooms at the gym, you have to ban transgenderism entirely. In order to protect businesses from having to participate in weird occult sexual rituals like the transgender transition, you have to ban transgenderism entirely.
Have you ever started a new job and had to review the Code of Conduct and Sexual Harassment Policy? Well, if you have, you will be briefed on things that are deemed inappropriate in certain settings. Every legitimate employer will have a sexual harassment policy in place, which means that you can't ask coworkers if they have certain body parts in mixed settings. You can't outright discriminate against people based on their sexual orientation. So why is this Jacqueline praising the law that would do just that?
I love this bill because it is so much more aggressive than the other bills we've seen. It reminds us of a truth in politics that Republicans all too often forget. You're either on offense or you're on defense. You're either making gains in the culture or you're losing ground in the culture. There's no standing still. There's no status quo. There's no neutrality.
In the Native American culture, communities recognize at least 4 genders in their society, some even more. There is no hate or retaliation based on gender or roles associated with them. The hatred and vilification of the LGBTQ community began with the European settlers and their religious beliefs. So when a Daily Wire wackadoodle makes the statement, libs attack the family through feminism, they claim that men and women are basically the same, and that Republicans are somehow justified in their position of sexuality, while the libs move forward with the normalization of other sexual practices, gay rights, among other things. Gay rights and other things? What other things, Michael? How about not being targeted for reprisal for being who you are? Nobody needs to hide in shame to suit the GOP's misguided sexual agenda. Unfortunately, the LGBTQ community is an easy target for hate-filled evangelicals and the like. Transgender people do not deserve to be punished by short-sighted, hate-filled lawmakers who probably have a few skeletons in their own closets. This is not a bill that deserves any accolades, Michael Knowles. It makes you wonder if this Jacqueline has ever been out of his hometown. What a pathetic loser, and that's a fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.